Hello, today we're going to be talking about the perimeter and area of polygons. So this is going to be some review from previous years. All right, so our vocabulary is perimeter. Our perimeter is basically the length of the outline or boundary of a polygon. I like to kind of think of it as a fence because you put a fence around the outside of something. So peri means around and meter means measure. So really what you're doing is you're just measuring around a polygon. Area is the amount of space or square units that polygon has. I like to think about like if you're doing carpet, when you do carpet, you need to find the area. So here's my little magic carpet. Another way of thinking about it is if you walk the perimeter of the playground, you're walking around the fence of the playground. But if you're playing in the area, that means you can play in all that space that's in the playground. All right, so we have some formulas that we do need to go over. So for parallelogram, and this includes squares and rectangles because squares and rectangles are parallelograms. So the formula for perimeter is P equals 2 times the length times the width. This can also be changed to 2 times the base times the height, depending on the way you see it. You'll see it a variety of different ways. And area is area equals the base times the height. So I'm going to go ahead and do the perimeter first. So if we look at our parallelogram here, which is a rectangle, we have P equals 2 times our length is this bottom part, which is also considered the base, 12, plus our width, which I'll call it the height, plus 5. And then we could finish solving this. We'll go to the next step rather. There'll still be another step in between. 2 times, and since this is parentheses, do what's in parentheses first. So 12 plus 5 is 17. And then P, we're going to have to multiply this 2 times 17, which is 34. And since we're doing perimeter, which is basically a linear measurement or just a straight measurement, this will just be 34 centimeters. And I'm going to go ahead and put this down just a little bit so you can see that perimeter better. There we go. Area is different because we're actually counting how many square centimeters we can actually fit in this space. So we have area equals our base, which is going to be this 12, times our height, which is 5 centimeters. So area equals 60, and I'm going to go ahead and actually I'll do this part first. Centimeters. There's different ways of writing it. I'm just going to show you one of them using something called superscript so I can get the two. Oops, that didn't do it. Let me try that again. There we go, the 2 up in the air. You can also just write out square centimeters or centimeters squared, and that would also be acceptable. So I really want you to make sure you're paying attention to just the notation. Anytime you're doing perimeter area, you have to have some measurement unit on it. For perimeter, it's going to be just a straight linear unit, whether it's centimeters, inches, yards, miles, kilometers, whatever. For area, you have to have square in there because we're actually measuring the squares, not just a straight line. All right, for a triangle is based off the parallelogram formula or the rectangular formula because a triangle is actually, if I were to actually double this triangle, I can turn it into a rectangle. So for the perimeter of a triangle, we're just going to do all the length of the sides. So actually, let me put some links in here because you're going to need some. So we're going to say that this is probably about 10. And let's say this looks a little bit longer than that line there. So we'll say it's about 7. Because we can't do the perimeter if we don't have any measurements there, do we? Can we? All right. All right, so if I do my equation here, P equals A, B, and C, those just represent sides of the triangle. When you have a triangle like this, it doesn't matter which one's A, B, or C. If we were doing a right triangle, the C is going to be the hypotenuse, which is the longest side of the right triangle. All right, so I'm just going to go around here. So I'll go 7 plus 10 plus 11. The perimeter equals 17 plus 11. Perimeter equals, move this over, 28 centimeters. And again, this is just a linear measurement. All right, for area, so we have area equals 1/2, times our base, which is 11 centimeters, times our height. Now, when we do the height of a triangle, it is always that point that forms a right angle. And the reason we want the right angle is we're going back to where we talked about a triangle is half of a rectangle. So we're just going to use the height from the base to the apex, which is the top of a triangle, where it forms a right angle. So this is 6 centimeters. So it doesn't matter which way you multiply these. If you're doing this mentally, it would most likely be easier to either multiply 1/2 times 6 or 6 times 11 and then do by 1/2. It doesn't matter because it doesn't matter the order of which you multiply things. But if I were just to do this on the calculator, your calculator is going to give you 5.5 times 6. I'm going to use a parentheses, a little bit easier than trying to find another one. So 6 times 5.5 is 33 centimeters and squared. So again, areas in square centimeters. All right, also got to put some measurements on this trapezoid. All right, so these two sides are congruent, so I'm just going to give them the same measure. So they're going to be longer than the 7 inches. So we'll say it's like 8. And let me just put in some lines to show congruence. And I'll put on another line here to show congruence. Paste this here. Oops. So whenever let me just straighten this up. It's all crooked. All right. To show congruence, we use these marks. So this is one single mark, that means those two sides are the same. So for a perimeter of a trapezoid, we just label the sides A, B, C, and D, which basically is just the four sides. Doesn't matter which one you're going to do for it, is make sure you get all the sides. The perimeter equals, and I'll just go around clockwise, so 4 plus 8 plus 9 plus 8. And I'm just going to save some of the steps and just, because mostly you're going to be using your calculator anyway. So P equals 29 inches. Oop, that's better. I'll go ahead and change this font right away. Area. So area of a trapezoid uses part of the formula for a triangle, because you actually can get triangles out of this. So we have area equals 1/2 base 1 plus base 2. Base 1 and base 2 are the parallel sides on the trapezoid. So this is your base 1 and base 2 here. Your height, just like with a triangle, it's that point from the base where it's a line from the base that forms a right angle. Some issues. All right, so area equals 1/2 times our base 1 and base 2, so 4 plus 9, times our height, which is 8. Let me go ahead and use the equation again. So you need to do parentheses first. So area equals 1/2 times 13 times 8 and again with this one, depending on what if you're doing it mentally, you'll probably want to do 1/2 times 8 first. It makes it a bit easier. If not, you can just go ahead and put the whole thing in together. And that gives you 52 inches. Actually, let me write the other way so you can see too. So you could do square inches. Either way is fine. So make sure before you go over your assignment that you check the equations for perimeter and area. And if you need help, as always, go ahead and feel free to contact me so that we can help you so I can help you understand.